in response to Sophie Cunningham personal issues. Now, Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White, she got issues of her own, I should say, with trying to convince the fan base. As of right now, I have not checked the recent reports of the ticket sales, but it looked like fans very much could be boycotting this season. Now, the Indiana Fever tickets is a little pricey, but at the end of the day, they always been pricey, bro. Um, yeah, I don't know, but we just gonna have to see. Now, just like I stated on the Show Me Some podcast, Sophie Cunningham made
Fever head coach Stephanie White addressed the media during training camp this week, touching on everything from practice structure to the Sophie Cunningham contract situation that has been making rounds online. Cunningham had spoken openly on a podcast about feeling somewhat let down by the offer Indiana put on the table, later walking that back by specifying that her frustration was mainly about the length of the deal rather than the money itself. She also told reporters that other franchises had come to her with stronger offers, but her comments strongly suggested that staying close to Caitlin Clark played a big role in her decision to remain with the Fever. When the same topic came up in White's press session, the coach's reaction raised a few eyebrows.
Sophie Cunningham made it her business to react to what the Fever offered her. Now, Fever head coach Stephanie White has now shared her reaction to the issue at the hand. Former WNBA Coach of the Year admitted that she did not even know about Sophie Cunningham podcast comments. Bro, this is what I be saying. They be lying, bro. Oh, I didn't even know she said that. Talking to the press at training camp on Tuesday, Cunningham said that she wants.
Asked about the podcast and Cunningham's comments, White responded that she had no idea what was being referenced, a response that many watching found hard to take at face value, especially given that the story had been circulating widely. A PR staffer was visibly present in the background, and the moment drew comparisons to other instances where a team representative appeared to sidestep an uncomfortable press question. White did eventually engage with the substance of the matter once the reporter explained it further, and her answer was measured. She acknowledged that contract conversations are a normal part of the business, that players naturally want security, and that organizations are simultaneously trying to make decisions that work both now and down the line.
Cunningham said that she wants to have her own home and to get an established pace. Now, so clarifying that it is important for. Now, that's what Sophie Cunningham said, but this is what Stephanie White said in her entirety. We got the what she said. Let's roll.
I feel from just 2 days of camp going into number 3.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good. I think we we've got great depth. I think we are going to be an improved defensive team, improved rebounding team. It's just.
She framed Cunningham's feelings as completely understandable, pointing out that wanting to know where you stand professionally is something everyone can relate to. On the camp itself, White expressed satisfaction with where things stand through the first 2 days. The team came through healthy, aside from the coaches, she noted with some humor.
It's just going to take time to build our continuity. It's going to take time to build our chemistry. We got some different looks with some different players. So overall, feel good about where we are.
Oh, I just wanted to ask real quick, during these early periods that we're here, you've kind of split the group up into 2 groups before bringing it together. Just the kind of thought process behind that?
Yeah, it's mostly just some pre-practice stuff, getting some work in a smaller, slower pace setting so that we can take that stuff that we're learning, and when we go live, we go together, and then some pre-practice.
Defensively, she sees a more capable unit taking shape along with improved rebounding potential, though she stressed that building chemistry takes time, especially with some new faces in the mix. Regarding Raven Johnson, White was straightforward in her praise. Johnson's defensive instincts stand out immediately, active hands, long arms, and a high energy level that keeps her from getting caught in mismatches.
That we're learning, and when we go live, we go together, and then some pre-practice work downstairs. A lot of players sometimes forget after a long off season what they need to do from an activation, prehab, rehab, from those standpoints, and you just, I think, re-engage them in those areas. So it's just a little like let's get ready to go, so that once we go into practice, we're not going live and then slowing down, and then going live and then slowing down.
What's the balance for you of getting things implemented, establishing things in coaching versus information overload when you're practicing?
Yeah, we're going real slow in terms of what we're.
White also highlighted her communication skills, noting that Johnson asks the right questions and shows a clear desire to keep developing. Mo was also mentioned in a similar light. White described her as an elite communicator on the defensive end who understands coverage and positioning without needing to be directed.
Things implemented, establishing things in coaching versus information overload when you're practicing.
Yeah, we're going real slow in terms of what we're implementing. You know, we want to have, you know, two things probably that we're going to do really well this week before we add anything. So today will be the first day that we've added anything since Sunday, and for us that's out of bounds plays because we haven't done it yet. So we're going to go slow. We want to get really good at the things that we have and the things that are our baseline before we start overloading them and getting them. You know, there's oftentimes paralysis by analysis when you do that, and we want them to be comfortable first.
The process is kind of out of you guys' hands, but do you know when Damaris?
The one area White wants to see grow is Mo's comfort level on offense, and finding spots where she can produce consistently is something the staff intends to focus on. The training structure itself was explained by White as deliberately slow-paced in the early days. Groups have been split before coming together, with the pre-practice time used to reactivate players after a long off-season.
This is kind of out of you guys' hands, but do you know when Damaris might arrive and be available for you guys?
I don't. I think last I'd heard potentially. What's today? Today's Tuesday. What day? I think I heard potentially Thursdays, but not sure.
What have you seen so far from Raven in a couple of days?
Well, I mean, certainly what we knew is that she's a bear on the defensive end of the floor. You know, she's got great active hands. You know, she doesn't seem to get in mismatched situations because of her activity level on the defensive end. Her arms are like forever long, and she's, you know, just working her way into.
The philosophy is to get two things right before adding anything new, rather than overloading the roster with information before the foundation is solid. On the topic of Caitlin Clark's health management, White spoke highly of the working relationship Clark has built with team trainer Maria, emphasizing that consistency in treatment and body awareness are critical, and that Clark has shown the maturity to step away when something feels off rather than pushing through it. Angel Reese had barely arrived at the Atlanta Dream before her fan base managed to generate controversy, and this time, the target was a teammate who had nothing to do with any of it.
Like forever long, and she's, you know, just working her way into figuring out the playbook. She's a high-level communicator, so she does a really good job of communicating, especially with us on the sideline, asking questions. She wants to know what she needs to do to continue to get better, and I think that's a great start.
How about Mo as well?
Yeah, I think Mo's activity level. Mo's an elite communicator, especially on the defensive end of the floor. So you never have to worry. She's going to call the coverage. She's going to make sure that she's in help position. She's active on the defensive end. You know, I want Mo to get a little bit more comfortable on the offensive end of the floor, and so making sure that.
Within roughly 20 minutes of Reese's introduction to the franchise, a segment of her supporters had already begun taking shots at Ryan Howard. To be clear about the dynamic on this roster, the Atlanta Dream is Ryan Howard's team. That distinction matters.
The Jack Nicholson of that team. That is the insert major player. Who's an A-list Ryan Gosling of that team? It's not Angel Reese. It's not anybody else on that team. But that does not keep Angel Reese fans from already throwing shots, making shit up, just throwing shit out there against the wall.
Howard is the established cornerstone of that franchise, the equivalent of a top-tier lead in a production where everyone else, regardless of individual talent, is supporting cast. That reality did nothing to slow down the noise. The flashpoint came during a team photo shoot.
Throwing shit out there against the wall. And this is one of the more particularly despicable ones that we'll find. Also, guess what? Big Mike himself, Michelle Obama, had Angel Reese on some podcast or something, glazing the crap out of her. How do you deal with everything? Wait, my bad. How do you deal with everything?
Howard was spotted wearing a chain with the number 5 on it. Almost immediately, Reese fans online began claiming the chain was a tribute to Angel Reese, who wears that number. The assumption spread quickly enough that Howard felt compelled to address it publicly.
How do you deal with everything? Wait, my bad. How do you deal with everything? Let's go. Let's go. Ryan Howard addresses misunderstanding by Angel Reese fans over the number 5 chain. She wears a number 5 chain, and no, it's not for Angel Reese. I mean, honestly, God, articles being wrote now. Angel Reese.
Her explanation was both straightforward and sobering. The number 5 chain was worn in memory of her late brother. Howard noted that the number has been present at every significant moment in her career since his passing, and that she even plays with a dog tag bearing his photo.
Articles being wrote now. Angel Reese, Ryan Howard's partnership might be the new face of the Dream. But even before that materializes on the hardwood, things are off to a shaky start. She's been there 27 seconds. It tipped off when Howard donned a chain wearing number 5 in the team's photo shoot a few days back. This didn't take long to draw the connection to Reese's arrival at the franchise, prompting Howard to have to clear a misunderstanding.
She had picked up the chain while still in Miami and simply thought it worked as an accessory for the shoot. The fact that her new teammate also wears 5 had not even registered to her until they were at the shoot together. Howard's statement was gracious under the circumstances, acknowledging the coincidence without any visible irritation, while still being clear about what the chain actually meant.
To Reese's arrival at the franchise, prompting Howard to have to clear a misunderstanding. Let's go. Angel Reese fans already saying Ryan Howard is wearing number 5 pendant to celebrate Angel's arrival. Ryan Howard had to literally address this. You got Dream fans begging Angel Reese fans to keep this about basketball. I mean, this is crazy.
The reaction from Dream fans who were not part of the Reese contingent was exasperated. Multiple supporters publicly called on Reese's fan base to keep things focused on basketball. Others apologized to Howard directly and urged her to block out the noise.
I mean, this is crazy as hell. This is what was said. Laugh out loud. As if Ryan wears that number 5 chain all the time. Clearly, she wore it for Angel Reese's arrival that day. That prompted Ryan Howard to actually have to address this, and I don't blame her. Considering it was her brother she was honoring and not Angel Reese, good on you. We're sorry for your loss.
The sentiment being expressed broadly was that this kind of manufactured drama, aimed at a player who had done absolutely nothing wrong, was precisely the pattern that caused problems for Reese at her previous team. The Chicago Sky situation looms large as a reference point. Teammates there were visibly distressed by the end of Reese's tenure, with the dysfunction spilling into press conferences.
Sorry for your loss. You rock that chain every day in honor of your brother. For real. What the hell? Absolutely. Please take this in a respectful way. My brother, 5, has been a part of every big accomplishment I made since I lost him. I actually play every game with a dog tag with his pictures on it.
The question now being raised is whether the same cycle is beginning to take shape in Atlanta, except this time it started before a single preseason minute had been played. Separately, a clip of Michelle Obama speaking with Reese on a podcast circulated around the same time. Obama praised Reese's composure and attitude at length, drawing comparisons to players of a previous era.
On it. However, it just happened that my new teammate also wears the same number, which I have no problem acknowledging. It honestly didn't even register to me that it was her number as well until I saw her at the photo shoot. I just got the chain while I was still in Miami and thought it would be a perfect accessory for that day. Thank you, everyone, for understanding.
The exchange generated its own commentary, with some observers noting that surrounding Reese with unconditional praise from high-profile figures, without anyone in her inner circle offering more grounded perspective, may not be doing her any favors in the long run. With the regular season still weeks away and the Dream having assembled what looks on paper like a competitive roster, the early signs are worth watching closely. If the fan base drama is already aimed at teammates before training camp is fully underway, the situation carries real potential to become a distraction, and by midsummer, that distraction could have consequences for the team's chemistry and performance.